Hi, Mark here. I'm going to perform several sanding tasks using my Wen Model 6502 4x36-inch belt disc sander. You can watch the operations and see the results. And along the way, I'll make a few suggestions. I'm going to connect my shop vac to the dust removal port because a sander like this can create a huge cloud of fine dust in just seconds. Some sanders will tend to bog down or even stop under heavy loads. This sander has a half horsepower motor, which is more powerful than the 1/3 horsepower motor that some models feature. We'll see how it holds up under load. This Wen sander came with fairly coarse and aggressive 80 grit sandpaper on both disc and belt. I'll use that first. First thing I'm going to do is sand the face of a piece of very weathered oak that you see here. We'll see how quickly I can remove material and whether I can bog the motor down. Well, as you can see, I was able to sand the weathered portion of this oak board down to clean wood fairly quickly. And even though I pressed pretty hard at some points, and you might have been able to hear that in the belt, I was not able to bog this motor down. Next, I'll try to round a corner. Now normally I would first use a bandsaw or my router for this task. I would only use the sander to smooth the surface following the cut. It is possible, however, to round a corner entirely with the sander and is fairly quick with 80 grit sandpaper. Okay, I've changed the belt to the finer 120 grit sandpaper. I'm first going to adjust the tracking, and then let's see if I can achieve a smoother surface on the same piece of oak, smooth enough to be ready for staining and finishing. Well, in my opinion at least, that is smooth enough for staining and finishing. I like to use 1/4-inch dowels in some of my work. I cut them to length in my miter saw, but the end can be just a little jagged. I like to put a bevel on them using my sander. It's very quick, and I'll show you right now. It's as easy as that to smooth those corners. Okay, a couple of final points here. When you use the disc for sanding, remember that the amount of sandpaper moving over your workpiece increases the further you get from the center. To remove material slowly, keep it near the center. For more aggressive sanding, move toward the outside of the disc. And you can sand at the outer roller, but be careful. Position your workpiece so that the belt tends to pull it away from you. If you point your workpiece into the advancing belt, it can catch and get thrown at you. Whenever possible, use the work support to keep your workpiece in place. There you have it. Enjoy using your belt sander.